Showtime.
BS Showtime.
Maybe you'll laugh.
Ha ha ha! Hardy har har!
Maybe you'll cry. You definitely will be entertained.
It's that simple. Are we clear? Are we clear?
On with the show, this is it.
And so another week begins. Welcome to the BS Show. I'm Bob Sansevere, coming to you from the Bradshaw Bryant and Smart Start MN Studios. Let's get right to it. How are your NCAA brackets doing? Assuming you make brackets. Hopefully you're doing well. Meantime, didn't go so well for Gable Steveson, the Minnesota Gopher, a two-time national champion, the Olympic champion who won his Olympic gold medal in the final seconds. Didn't quite go well for him. Going after a third national title, he lost to a guy named Wyatt Hendrickson, who served time in at the Air Force Academy. He's a second lieutenant, and he did to Gable Steveson what Gable Steveson did in the Olympics. He won in the final seconds. Going to get more into that with Jeff O'Brien in our weekly 3 and Out segment. 3 stories, usually sports stories. And let's get going. Jeff, Gable got gabled. Because this this guy, the second lieutenant, Wyatt Hendrickson, he'd won in the final seconds. He got a takedown on Gable Steveson. No one all year had a takedown on him. And I will say, I watched it. I watched every match. I like wrestling because I like covering it in high school, and I like watching, the best go at it. And he did not look like Gable Steveson. I mean, he didn't have that. He didn't seem to me, unless Hendrickson was that good, and he may have been. The guy's a monster. This Wyatt Hendrickson. He makes Gable Steveson look small, which is not an easy thing to do.
You know what it kind of reminded me of, Bob? And kudos, to Gable. I mean, he's been an absolute beast his entire collegiate career, and into the Olympics, and just yet another outstanding wrestler that the U of M program pumped out. They've had a long history, and they don't get the attention that some of the bigger sports over there do, but they have been a powerhouse forever.
Oh, Jay Robinson got that started. Yep, and he kept it going for a while, long time.
But what it reminded me of last night with Gable, hadn't gone down, whatever. The old fight. I remember as a kid watching the pay-per-view fight with Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas. And Tyson was invincible, and all of a sudden, Buster Douglas just got him on a bad night, right?
That's what it seemed like.
This was a great match. Kudos to Wyatt. You watch if anybody hasn't seen it, go online and look at the video of this, because this was like WWE level energy from the announcers when Gable went down. And they realized
and the other guy, the one guy, you could lay off the Captain America. He's a second lieutenant, and he did come in with the flag.
I like he had the flag. He saluted the president. The president was in attendance, and he stayed. Apparently, he was going to leave earlier, and then stayed and got.
He had to stay for that
moment. But very cool night, very cool match. Kudos to both of them. I saw on the podium after when they were, Gable was very gracious towards.
Yeah, I didn't see the podium ceremony. Oh, he was. Good for him.
Really cool event. Really cool.
See, here's what's going to be really interesting. The Olympic trials. Can Gable Steveson come back and beat him in the trials and represent the U.S.? Because I'll tell you what, that is going to be a battle royale when they go out in the Olympic trials. If, again, I'm assuming that the Air Force is going to want him to do it. I would think so. That would be huge for them. And also, it looks a little big I thought they had like height restrictions and weight restrictions for the military academies. Here's what happened. He went to the Air Force. He used all his eligibility at the Air Force because he graduated, but you get an extra year because of COVID. So he went to one of the top programs in the country, Oklahoma State, for one more year, went undefeated through the season, got much better coaching than he ever got at Arizona Air Force. And I think that had to do, a lot with the success he had. But he is not a pushover by any means. No. I mean, he did with. That's why going into this, I'm thinking, can this guy beat Gable Steveson, because he put a hurting on this Greg Kirkfleet, who won the NCAA title at heavyweight last year. He dominated Kirkfleet in a day earlier the way Gable Steveson dominated him at the Big Ten Championships. Kirkfleet I'm talking about. And by the way, there is no conference anywhere like the Big Ten for wrestling. There were a number of finals that had Big Ten opponents going at it, like they did at the Big Ten. The Big Ten is sort of a preview of the NCAA championships. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. For as great as the U of M program has been, you also have Iowa. Iowa's been great.
Well, Penn State is incredible.
Yep.
Nebraska has really come on. Yeah, I mean, this guy went to Oklahoma State, Hendrickson, but the Big Ten is it's so dominant with the teams that they have. So, all right, this is a 3 and out. That's 1. Here's 2. Your Tommies, they went to the championship game, right? And they didn't win, but that's a pretty good showing they had against Mankato to get there.
Yeah. I mean, Mankato's 15 in the country. You know, they've played in the Frozen Four before. They played in the final before. They were the regular season champions as well, I believe. I think because they were the 1 seed for the playoffs. So Tommies beat Ferris State and Bowling Green and then ended up going to Mankato and lost 4-2. It was back and forth for a while. I think Tommies scored first, then Mankato tied it, and then scored again, and then the Tommies tied it up, and then Mankato just finished them off. So. But kudos to Coach Blasi and his program. They really had the toughest road of any of the schools moving up, of any of the programs moving up, Bob. I mean, they got immediately thrown to these teams like Mankato.
They weren't playing in lesser divisions like the Summit League.
No, exactly. And they went right into it. And in year 4 they have a winning record. They were competitive, and we'll come back next year. Now they'll be playoff eligible. And someday, I tell you, Bob, we're going to end up with Herb Brooks's dream. We're going to get enough Minnesota schools into the Frozen Four where you're going to have an all Minnesota Frozen Four at some point.
All you need is 4.
Yeah,
right? And you got 6 in the state, which is pretty
6,
good.
Yep.
Now item 3. This one bothers me a little bit. The Wild.
Yeah, bothers me too.
Well, because the Wild and the XL Energy, they want $394 million. St. Paul and the Wild asking the state for help. My answer would be no. You got your help at the front end. It's up to you to maintain this building and keep it in shape. We're not giving money anymore. And frankly, you're going to need some money for, how about some education? How about maybe you're going to need some money because your governor is promoting Tesla stock going down when there's 1.6 million shares in the Penn State Pension Fund. And he said for him to say that was a joke, oh my God, Jeff. I mean, does he really think people are that stupid?
The only thing that's a joke. The only thing that's a joke is him. And I would love to see, he made his little comment on Gavin Newsom's podcast so he can kick all the Trump supporters, what's.
Yeah.
I would
tough guy.
It's funny. Glenn Jacobs, was the mayor down in Tennessee. I forget what city down in Tennessee. Who's a former WWE wrestler, Kane, has said, "Hey, let's do a pay-per-view event if you think you can do that." I've noticed it's been crickets from our governor, who, by the way, if you remember a couple years ago, fled his own fishing opener because there were going to be protesters there. So he isn't kicking anyone's anything.
No, he's a tough talker, which is.
But back to the story. This talk about not reading the room and poor timing on the part of St. Paul and the Wild on this XL Energy thing. You've got Walsey and his crew blew a surplus
of 18 billion. Now 6 billion.
You're going to come back and ask them for money for the arena at the same time when that starts the dominoes to fall, because you've got Target Center sitting over in Minneapolis, which is even older than XL Center. And I think I really hope that they just on both sides, they just come back and say no. Enough of it.
Hey, we built it. You take care of it. You're the ones who allowed it to run down. If it ran down, it's on you. It's not on the state. And you know what? St. Paul wants it because they want to get River Center. They got other plans to make it an entire renovation of that area. Oh, it'll really get the city to come back. Why did you allow it to fall apart? That's my question. This is ridiculous that they're actually looking for money.
If I recall right, that when they originally built the XL Center, I believe that when Arnie Carlson got it through with Norm, I think they got it structured as a loan. They didn't just give the city the money to do this. The state loaned the money, but the city had to repay it.
Yeah, did they?
enough of this just writing blank checks to everybody for their little projects.
Ridiculous. All right, Jeff. Now that I'm all worked up, I'm ready to. Boy, I think I could take on any. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to be. Oh, I was just joking, is what he would say about taking on someone. I'm sure that'll be his response. I was joking.
Right.
Anyone who watches that video, that was no joke when he was going after
No, it
Tesla.
wasn't.
All right,
Yep.
Jeff O'Brien, thank you, sir. 3 and out. We got plenty more. We're going to take a quick break, and the BS show will be right back.